everybody. Thanks for joining us. I am here with head coach of the Jefferson Falcons. It's head coach Jason Root on a coach's corner. Now, Coach Root going back into the head coaching reins. It's the first time since, you said 2010, right? Or 2009, back into the head coaching reins. You've been involved with PV for the last couple years. But, Coach, it's good to have you back. He's a familiar face for me, guys. If you're not aware, Coach Jason Root was the Jefferson Falcons head coach back when I was in high school. Now, we were rivals at that time, but I still got a lot of love and a lot of respect for Coach Jason Root. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
So, you come into this year and, a lot of changes. You've got different guys. That's kind of the nature of high school, but you're bringing in a new coaching staff as well with you. Talk a little bit about some of the guys who are coming with you before we get into you.
As far as my coaching staff, Rob Mead will be my offensive coordinator. He was with me way back when I was the head coach at Jefferson before. He coached many years for Jimmy Henson at Jefferson, and I actually got him to come over to PV last season. But he's been at Jefferson. We've been teaching alongside each other for many years now. So I have Rob Mead. Jeremy Graham was a lineman for me in the early 2000s when I was the head coach at Jeff. He was on some of those really good NEC championship teams. He's a teacher at Jefferson now. He'll be assisting. Caleb Davis is coming over from Champion. He's going to help Coach Mead call the offense. And Bobby Archuleta, who also teaches my entire staff at the high school teaches at Jefferson. It's crazy. I've never had that experience before. It's nice. And then at the junior high level, Jacob Girdler, who played for Coach Mead and I back at Jefferson, and also Will Brastain and Isaac Orhood will be helping out.
Yeah, so, you brought up a really good point right there, Coach, and I just want to dive a little bit into that. Talk about kind of the benefit and really of having all these guys in the building and how that helps with kind of the team. And, these are teenagers. They need oversight.
I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome because they can have an impact on the kids all day long. We can talk about things. We have easy access to each other to run things by each other. And it's very rare in this day and age to have a whole high school staff that is working at the school. That's just crazy. And I feel fortunate for that.
Yeah, I think it's a huge help. You know what I mean? And you got a pretty decent size coaching staff as well. When you look at where coaching staffs were, years back and then where they are today, a typical coaching staff, maybe even in that 01 to 04, there was 9-10 guys on there. Whereas today, if you got 4 coaches, like that's about standard. Yes. So, you've got a couple extra names out there. But, let's talk a little bit about the guys, the players coming in this year. You've got a lot of talent. Obviously, Jefferson loses a foundational talent, a generational talent in Cage Bozar from last year. Everybody saw what he could do, but you've got some guys who are kind of itching to take over that spot. Let's talk about those guys.
Yeah, our number one player is Matt Webster. He's a bruiser. He's a running back and inside linebacker. You know what he did at the combine. He's a
5-year-old record.
Crazy strong, and he loves football and he loves to hit. So he'll be the headliner for us. Some other top guys, Sean McClassic, a junior, wide receiver and outside backer. We expect a lot of big things out of him. Colton Rude is a senior offensive tackle and defensive tackle. We're expecting big things out of him. Jeremy Shank, another senior defensive end, very good athlete, really good pass rusher. Michael Riffle, who is very similar to Webby in the backfield. And also he played linebacker last year. We're probably going to move him to end to let him unleash his wrath on QBs.
Oh, good luck.
There's some other ones. Our sophomore QB has come along real well. He was their starter at the end of the season as a freshman, Mason Khalil. He's been looking good all summer. Paxton Fritchie was a freshman that started last year at corner and wide receiver. He'll be one of our main guys on both sides of the ball. And there's a few other guys too. Ben Jackson, Brody Dietrich, Damian Nelson, Mitch Lundy. Those are guys that we're going to be counting on, especially this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent out there for sure. I think about a kid like Mason Khalil. I think it's really easy to look at a sophomore quarterback and think about the inexperience and stuff they still have to learn. But, that young man had baptism by fire last year. So he's got a lot of snaps underneath of him. Seems very, very confident. Got a chance to look at him at the combine. One of the things I got to bring up at the combine, Coach, because it was one of those things that made me smile. It brought me back to like the coaching I know. During the 7-on-7, the guys weren't necessarily doing what you wanted them to do. And I'll be darned if you didn't have those kids drop down and give you push-ups right there in the middle of the 7-on-7. Talk to me about that kind of approach, Coach.
Yeah, well, I mean, I try to limit that kind of stuff. It's, I don't really like to do that, but the moment caught me. But you probably won't see that again from me, and especially not during a game. But
well, no.
I thought it was the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think it was awesome. You know what I mean? It was a learning thing for those kids, and they knew that Coach Root meant business, and I just thought that was great. You're coming from being on a staff at PV where you guys played a very physical brand of football, and from what I know. From when you were coaching, you love that physical brand of football. Talk about how these guys, these heavy hitters, are going to help with that.
Well, that was Neil's thing with the bruiser mentality on offense. I was mostly on defense, but we'll run the spread this year, and honestly, the offense isn't going to look a whole lot different than it did last year at Jefferson. Other than we will utilize those big guys in the backfield a lot more, Webby and Riffle and Ben Jackson. But, we have a good passer. We got some guys that can get open outside and in the slot. And so we're going to mix it up on offense. But definitely physicality will be a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, how much does it help when, you got a kid who could pass the rock like that, but if they put too much time and effort into covering the pass, those two guys are going to rattle off 7-8, and if you miss a tackle, it might be a touchdown. Yeah,
it's a nice option to have.
So, coming into this year, what were some of the things you're seeing from the kids? Obviously, you're getting back to Jefferson. That's kind of your home and where you've been your whole time. How good does it feel to be back in that black and red?
It's great. I mean, I've always been a Falcon since 1990, the 94-95 school year. This is my 31st year at Jefferson as a teacher. My dad taught there since 74, so there's been a root teaching at Jefferson for 51 years now. So I never really left. But it is nice coming back. I never really imagined myself coaching, being a head coach anywhere at all. But honestly, Neil Croston kind of lit that fire in me with the success we had the last 6 years. And I'm just ecstatic to be back.
Yeah, I think it's very, very cool. The kids are going to get to learn from a guy who really knows football inside and out. As long as I've been a part of football, you've been a part of football. So that's a long time. Getting back into the CVC, I know the NEC days are dead, but the CVC Lake has some. It's basically the CVC with a seasoning of that NEC. What's it going to feel like to get back into, conference play against some of these names?
It's going to be great to be able to go against our county teams plus Madison, some other familiar teams like Harvey back the way it was back in the day.
Yeah. Now, what are you looking forward to this season? We're not talking wins and losses here, none of that. But obviously, 10-0, everybody wants that. But what are you looking forward to most? Like, what's going to be a successful season, no matter what the record says for Coach Root?
If we come out and compete and we make a good attempt at winning the Lake Division, and we need to compete. We need to play hard. We're going to play with class, and that'll make me happy.
Yeah, so that's a big one. That's a big one. It's going to be fun. I always tell guys, go out there and compete. There's nothing wrong, whether playoffs happen or not. Take care of home. Take care of the county. You want to be the team in the county. Looking through this schedule this year, you've got some real tough games. Against some very established teams. We've got the Genevas of the world, the Madisons of the world. But you can feel that Lakeside and Jefferson rivalry starting to brew again. I tend to stir the pot a little bit. That's what I do. I live for that stuff. But it's going to be really, really fun. You've got some seniors, you've got some young guys. How are the seniors taking their leadership involved this year?
It's been a process, but the seniors that we do have are coming along, and they're learning to be leaders. We really need them to be. We also have some leaders in the younger groups too, which is nice.
Yeah, and speaking of younger guys, and you're seeing this more and more, where the junior high and the youth league and all of these young guys are starting to kind of intertwine and learn from one another. How much involvement, if any, do you or the players have involved with either the junior high or the youth league players?
Well, the junior high obviously runs the same stuff that we're running, and a lot of those junior high kids were in lifting with us all winter and spring. And as far as the youth football, we had our camp, and all of our players got to interact with. I think we had about 60 kids K through 8 that came to our camp, which was nice.
Yeah, I think that plays a huge role. I mean, you're seeing the guys who are going to be on Friday, in a couple of years, probably for you, coach, out there playing in that youth league. What is I guess, there's some things you expect, some things you don't expect. What was one of the surprises maybe you got getting back into that head coaching role and back in Jefferson in particular this year?
Well, I always said you never know what it's like to be a head coach in a major sport unless you actually do it. And, being an assistant all these years, I was JV girls basketball for a long time at Jefferson and some other stuff. But, you're just reminded of all the other things that are on a head coach's plate that, even assistants don't really think about. But luckily I have some good assistants that are, helping me out with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and another big thing that they talk about with football is the culture, right? And I think the culture in Jefferson is really good whether you're talking about the town and the commitment there, but you guys have one of the better bands in the area, arguably in the state. How much of a benefit is that when your boys are out there, doing their best and the band is out there pumping them up?
Oh, it's awesome, and Mr. Brazier does an awesome job with the band, and I hear they're increasing the size of the band bleachers because they have so many more kids coming out this year for marching band. So, that's a big help for us during the games.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's a big help for me as an announcer when those guys, and they're really good. They're really good. That team is legit, or that band is legit. Yeah. And we got to talk about, I may be partial. I understand that, as this is going to run on YSN, and we're going to see guys from all over Youngstown are going to see it. But I believe Jefferson may just have the best stadium in all of Northeast Ohio. How cool is it to play on a stadium like that?
It's awesome, especially knowing how it used to be when we used to play on it. And, I have nothing against grass. I'm used to coaching at PV recently, but, it's like a whole new world. It's hard to imagine that same exact field is the same field, I used to coach on. It's just, it's an amazing facility.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest differences you're seeing from, maybe your time coaching at Jefferson before to now in the play and the players and I guess high school football in general?
There's more emphasis on 7-on-7s during the summer. There's a lot more regulations as far as limiting contact and full go hitting during the week in practice. I mean, back in the day, we used to go full go Monday through Wednesday and then play on Friday. It's not really like that at any level anymore. More of I don't want to say more of an emphasis on safety. There's always been an emphasis, but a lot less full contact during the week is probably the biggest thing that I can think of.
Any big changes in like the play style that you've, from then to now that really stick out to you? I know, in my head, I feel like everybody ran the ball twice, passed it once, and then punted it if it didn't work.
Yeah, definitely a lot more passing and spread offenses, although there was some taking place in the early 2000s. But yeah, more spread, more throwing the ball around. Back in the day, you had more double tight formations and probably a little more wing tee than what we see today, although Geneva runs it really well. That was fun.
Yeah, it's that's one of the most interesting things for me as a broadcaster and as a guy who played football in that era is seeing, I can remember, thinking teams that passed the ball 12, 13 times were essentially an air raid, back then, whereas now you would be considered a run heavy team. You talk about, we talked about some of the coaches and we talked about the kids and, the culture out there. What are some of the things you're looking forward to, I guess, throughout the season, in general? You know what I mean? Whether it's just that first night when you're out on the sideline in Jefferson and the black and gold, the headset's on you and all eyes are on Coach Root.
Yeah, it's, big thing I'm thinking about is how will our kids react in our scrimmages. Our first game at Chagrin Falls, I'm excited to see how our kids react to that and if any adversity, how they react to that. But our second game is our first home game. It's against Waterloo, and that'll be a big moment, me standing on the sidelines on the home side. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's going to be a cool moment for a lot of us, myself, present company included. It's a callback. I'm really, really excited to see you back on the horse and back in black and red because it reminds me of my time too. So, I
still have almost all my clothing from the first time around. So.
Listen, that's probably going for big bucks right now. These kids are really into vintage. So, all right, Coach. Well, I just wanted to thank you so much for sitting down with us for our Coach's Corner and giving everybody a chance to re-meet Jason Root as you get back to the Falcons nest where you've never truly left. So it'll be a great season. I look forward to getting to talk to you again, Coach.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
Thanks so much.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go to YSN.